BioShock 2 fulfilled what we all really wanted after we finished the first, and that was to play the whole game as a Big Daddy. After getting drilled and riveted so many times in the first game, the second lets you be the one to do the drilling. With all of the armaments of a Big Daddy at your disposal, you're set to take on Rapture as you please, but there is one method of attack that is much worse than the rest. Can you beat BioShock 2 by only gun bashing? There are very few rules for this run. I can only inflict damage by gun bashing. Every weapon in the game can bash, including the drill, but I didn't allow the drill for obvious reasons. I also didn't use plasmids at all in this run, unless necessary to move forward in the story. I also made it my goal to deal with every little sister in the game, which means I will have to deal with the Big Daddies as well. That's it for the rules, but before we move forward, I'd like to thank my patrons Riley Anderson and Dr. Maritimus. If you'd like your name said before a vid starts for showing some love and support, go become a patron. There's a link to it in the description. And if you find yourself enjoying the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to have you around, and it helps me out a lot. Now, the game difficulty was originally set to hard, but I changed it very early on to normal, and you'll see why. Ready? Let's go. The game starts us off in a pretty rough place, as you end up literally offing yourself in the first few minutes. Of course, it wouldn't be much of a game if you died right there, so you somehow get revived like 10 years later. Of course, I don't start with a gun, so the first few splicers have to be taken care of with the drill. There are no other options. Since this is still the tutorial, I'm okay with letting it slide. We come across our first plasmid, Electrobolt, and I kill a few more splicers before we get the rivet gun. Now the challenge can actually begin, and not surprisingly at all, gun bashing is the worst thing ever. I don't even get much of a chance to test it out before I'm hassled by a big sister. This fight is scripted, and I'm pretty sure you can't die here, which is really nice since I ran out of medkits. The big sister runs away, and I follow. She decides to put me into the big swim, and I get to muck about underwater for a bit before heading to the Atlantic Express. Tannenbaum is here, guiding us to her since she seems to know a bit about why the hell I'm alive after 10 years. We get the hack tool here, and this is our main weapon of the run. But Nick, that's not really a gun, that's just a device strapped to your fist. Well, it bashes, and it doesn't make me want to puke due to the screen moving so much, so deal with it. We hack our way in and meet up with some more splicers. I hadn't actually decided that the hack tool would be our main weapon yet, so I still have to experience slight motion sickness from all of the screen movement that gun bashing does. Sophia Lamb, the new head honcho of Rapture, catches up with us here and sends a bunch of splicers to kill me. Thankfully, I have the body of a dad, and fell through a floor into some water. I kill a few more splicers up on dry land, and we get another plasmid, Telekinesis. This was the plasmid I usually had equipped, as it seemed the least distracting, and if I accidentally used it, it wouldn't really do much. I get dunked on by leadhead splicers up ahead, and get thrown into the Vita chamber for the first of many times. After killing a few more splicers and dying a few more times, I have to use telekinesis to open up a door. I got bombarded by a bunch of splicers while trying to take the elevator, but I just ran past most of them. We meet Tannenbaum, and she gives us some story exposition here. I won't lie, I like BioShock 2 as a game, but the story's a little lackluster, so forgive me if I skip over a lot of it. In short, Eleanor Lamb, a little sister, is bonded to us, and Sophia Lamb, her mother, is not happy with that. I'll also die if I leave Rapture without Eleanor, so I have to find her and save her myself. Tannenbaum has also arranged for a man named Sinclair to help us along, but she herself would not be, as she has to protect the little ones. Now I have to cover their escape, which wasn't too bad. I mean, there were a whole hell of a lot of splicers, and I died at one point, but there was a vending machine and a health station here, so it was pretty easy. I meet up with Sinclair here and head to Ryan Amusements. This goddamn level. I was still playing the game on hard difficulty here, and that was a mistake. I'm sure this challenge is doable on hard difficulty, but it was just not for me. But we'll get to that shortly. The way forward is blocked by some ice, so that means I have to get out of the tram and get the incinerate plasmid to continue. I deal with a few splicers here and find my first power to the people machine. These are not important in the slightest for this run, but my natural gamer instincts told me I had to find them all anyways. I have to grab a ticket to actually gain entry to the park, which means that the area I cleared to get here is full of splicers once again. Here's about the time I decided to use the hack tool as my main squeeze. No sickening screen movement for me anymore. Once inside of the park, I got my first gene tonic. These are super important in any playthrough, and they're no different here. While there was only one tonic that could theoretically make me do more damage with gun bashing, I barely ever ended up using it. I was mostly worried about defense and hacking in this run. If you've played BioShock before, you know we need Adam to purchase plasmids. Where do we get Adam? From Little Sisters, of course. Who protects the little sisters? Big Daddies. They are called that for a reason, and that is because they are indeed chonky papas. I need Incinerate to move forward, so I have to deal with him so I can adopt the little sister. This was one of the things that made me change the difficulty. You see this? Do you see how little damage I do, and how much damage he does? There was just no way I was going to be able to do this in a timely manner. When I inevitably died, I tried again and again and again and again. I was making a dent in his health, but it was taking so long. Eventually he walked right over to the Vita chamber, and that saved me a little time, but it still took me 15 minutes to kill one Big Daddy, and then I could adopt the little sister to help me collect some Adam. Oh, I still hadn't switched the difficulty yet, but that happens soon enough. When a little sister is collecting Adam from a corpse, you have to protect her, otherwise she stops harvesting. The first time was in an open area with vending machines and a health station nearby, so I didn't have much of a problem bashing my way through the masses. It was the next gathering that I had a problem with. A small confined space, no vending machines, and a single health station which was far enough away for me to cause problems. I didn't have any medkits or money to buy more, so I thought I was kind of a goner here. Anytime you die and get revived, you have to start the gathering process all over again, and after a few times, I was at a loss for what to do. That's when my good friend Insane Frame came up with a brilliant solution. We were keeping each other company while he edited a video and I worked on the challenge. He saw me struggling and said, "Nick, why don't you just keep killing the splicers and farming them for money until you have enough to buy a bunch of medkits?" This is what happens when you get two challenge YouTubers in the same room, so thanks, Framey. After a solid 20 minutes of farming, I was able to buy 5 medkits, and that made the gathering so much easier. I changed the difficulty to normal after this. Now I had the option to harvest or rescue the little sister. Since I didn't need Adam for much in this playthrough, I opted to save them all so I could get the good ending. Now that I had the Adam I needed, all I had to do was wade through a lot more splicers and I could buy Incinerate. Of course, the game's not going to let us walk out of the park without a fight, so I had to fight my first big sister for real here. It was a very hard fight, and I died a few times, but thankfully she doesn't regenerate health when I die, so I was eventually able to manage. I melt the ice blocking our path, and Sinclair joins me in one of the other tram carts. Sophia Lamb also sends some more splicers to harass us, but after what I was just through, it was nothing. We were in Pauper's Drop now, and we were just going to be passing through, but BioShock doesn't like giving us a freebie to the next area. I have to find a key to open the gate to the next area, while being harassed by Grace Holloway, who has the key, and the reason she's harassing me is because I stole Eleanor from her. I mean, I did steal Eleanor, but get over it, lady. You live under the ocean with biological horrors. The least you can expect is a man in a diving suit stealing children, okay? To move forward, we're going to need the research camera, so we can learn about what makes brute splicers tick, since one of them decides to block the path to Grace. Before I can go out of my way to grab it, though, I find another Big Daddy and little sister. I was much more prepared for this fight, and it was certainly more manageable on normal difficulty. That being said, I still died right at the end because I ran out of medkits, and I had to hurry and buy some more before the little sister healed the Big Daddy too much. That did the trick, and I had a little sister to gather some Adam for me once again. I don't plan on going over every single gathering session, as that would take too long. Just know that I always did both gatherings for every little sister, and always rescued them. I had to fight a brute splicer before I got the camera, and it was pretty easy. These guys are, funnily enough, the key to this challenge. Many more murdered splicers later, and I have access to the camera. I definitely allowed the camera in this run, and there's no reason not to. It doesn't cause any damage when I use it, and it helps me out a lot. By researching splicers and other enemies, I can gain permanent damage bonuses against them, and sometimes other nice perks or gene tonics. I'll let you know now, I maxed out all possible research on all of the subjects in the game. Before making my way to the brute splicer to research him, I get caught up by another Big Daddy. This marks a first for me as I didn't die while fighting him, and was able to successfully adopt the little sister. I do the Adam gathering and rescue her before having to fight another big sister. This fight was super easy compared to the last, and I didn't struggle at all. More Adam for me, I guess. The brute splicer was waiting up ahead, and while I pummel him for the necessary move I need to continue, let me explain why these guys are so important to the run. After a few successful researches, they give me a perk that increases all melee damage, including gun bashing. We're a ways away from it right now, but keep that in mind. With the new drill dash ability I just got, I can continue forward to deal with Grace in whatever way I see fit. Of course, there's like a gajillion more splicers that all get to meet the blunt end of my hack tool along the way. For now, splicers are easy, and unlike the first BioShock, they don't really get much harder later on. I make sure all the other areas in Pauper's Drop are clear of loot before I make my way up to Grace's apartment. I have the option to kill her here, but I'm a good guy, okay? I just take the key and make my way back to the tram so I can go to Sirens Alley. Apparently no one likes me in this game, as on the way to Sirens Alley, the tram gets blown up by a missile and I am once again thrown into the bottom of the ocean. Sinclair is still in one of the other cars, and he will now slowly run out of oxygen, so I had to hurry and deal with the problem. I needed to get to the pumping station and activate it, all while dealing with splicers, big daddies, and some crazed preacher. Speaking of big daddies, I get into my first fight with a new type here. This one can shoot grenades and mini turrets to help in battle, but I can hack the turrets to help me. But they mostly just end up distracting the big daddy for a few seconds so I can clobber him. With the little sister adopted, I get to work gathering, and the only change here is that leadhead splicers start wielding new weapons like Tommy guns and shotguns. For anyone interested in what I was spending my Atom on, it was mostly just gene tonic slots and gene tonics themselves. I dealt with another big daddy and little sister before continuing on my journey to find the pump station. I can't really do much with this little sister yet until I get a bit further in the level, so she had to watch me gamble all of my life savings away trying to win some money at the slots, and win I did. I maxed out my money, which is 800 now that I had the wallet upgrade from researching. No more running out of money for me the rest of the game. I make it a bit further along and get a more proper introduction to Father Wales, the antagonist of the level. The way forward is locked, and I would need a code to continue on. Father Wales' brother would be the one to have the code, so I made my way off to find him, but not before making a big change to the game. I finally found another Brute Splicer here, and got the melee damage perk I was talking about, and oh boy, this was big. I didn't really get to test out the difference until I started an Atom gathering session, but y'all might be a little mad at me. I forgot to start recording this part, and I totally killed Father Wales' brother for the code and a bunch of newly introduced spider splicers. Oops. Just pretend that he was easy to kill, because he was really easy to kill, and then I made my way back to the door I had to open with the code. I do another gathering here, and I get to really show off my power. It only takes 2 gun bashes to kill a leadhead splicer. Imagine if I was using the drill, I'd be able to take down a big daddy in like 5 hits or something. I save the little sister and pretty much immediately get into another fight with a big daddy. They're still tough, but not as tough as me. I do my required gatherings with the little sister, and am faced with yet another big sister. These fights really do just get easier and easier, the complete opposite of the first BioShock. With all the other daddies and sisters taken care of, I could focus on actually finding the pumping station now. You know, after I explore the rest of the level for goodies. The pumping station is on the lower levels, and is guarded by Father Wales. He's an amped up spider splicer, so it wasn't too difficult to put him into an early grave. I made my way to the pumping station and pulled the switch. Sophia Lamb started flooding the area, so I had to move quick, though I doubt the game is actually on a timer. I eventually get engulfed into the drink once again, but from here I'm able to walk to Dionysus Park. I'm not really sure how any of this helps Sinclair with his oxygen problem, but he's okay now, I guess, and we can start the next level. Dionysus Park is one of the most unnecessary levels I've ever played in a game. The whole of this level is just dealing with big daddies and their little sisters, so this Stanley guy can cover up his tracks. Yeah, we learn a lot of stuff about him from Eleanor in this level, like he's the reason I'm a big daddy, and she's a little sister, but like, I don't care? Without this guy, there would be no game, so I have no reason to be mad. Honestly, there is no reason to talk about this level in great detail, since it really is just dealing with the little sisters. The big daddies are no longer a problem with their damage and high amounts of money. I did do all of the gatherings for all 3 of the little sisters, and dealt with the big sister that always pops up after dealing with all of the little sisters in a level, but that was it. I've never seen such a nothing level before, and it makes me a little mad. It turns out that Sophia Lamb already knew about all of the stuff that Stanley did, which makes this level even more pointless. I just throw the switch and go to the next area, and leave Stanley alive because I couldn't care less. Thankfully, the rest of the game is much better. The next level is Fontaine Futuristics, which is a nice throwback to the first game. I had to trudge around on the bottom of the ocean floor to gain access, and made my way inside. I know I complained heavily about the last level, and I really do like this level, but every time I play it, I can't help but feel they were trying to one-up Sander Cohen from the first game, which is a very difficult thing to do. As it turns out, Gil Alexander is the big boss in this level, and he's wackier than a $2 bill. He sends some Houdini splicers after us, which are one of the new enemies in the area, but they're pretty easy. It's just when they teleport up high, I can't hit them. I should probably note that before Gil went crazy, he left recordings around to help anyone sane enough. He tells us in these recordings that he wants us to kill him. The present Gil wouldn't make that easy for us though, and decides to send one of my brethren to kill me. The Alpha Series Big Daddies are by far my favorite. I love the design of them, and they're also much easier to kill than a normal Big Daddy. Past Gil left us an audio recording of his password, so we can continue forward, but present Gil stops us by screwing around with the voice activator. This means that as long as he has control over security, I couldn't move forward, so I would have to destroy the devices attached to each of the bot managers to fix it. This gives me a good chance to explore the level and deal with some Big Daddies along the way. The first device is right here, just waiting to be destroyed. The second is located in the plasmid presentation room. Gil's security bot meets us there, and he starts sending Houdini splicers after me. I thankfully have 2 security bots of my own that I hacked, which helped me out a lot here since the splicers were out of reach. Gil then sends an Alpha Series out, but he's pretty easy to deal with while he's distracted by my security bots. 2 devices down, 2 to go. The next device was in Frank Fontaine's office, and that was really easy to destroy. The last one was a short jaunt through the marketing department, in which I murdered the whole of the marketing department. Now I should be able to access the voice-locked area, but not before getting sidetracked by the unstable teleport plasmid Easter egg, which was pretty fun. And it did net me a gene tonic that I don't think I ever knew existed, and would be super helpful. Now whenever I buy a medkit from a hacked vending machine, it only costs 15 bucks. I won't lie, that's pretty busted, since I still have almost maxed out money from gambling and looting. I make my way back to the audio lock door and get more instructions from past Gil, and I unlock the way forward from here as well. Another jaunt through the ocean, and we're in a secret lab, where they were making the Alpha Series Big Daddies. I learned that Gil is in this huge ass tank, and I'd have to turn the breakers and lights back on to get his attention. He's not too happy about that and sends some splicers and Alpha Series after me. I won't lie, I didn't expect gun bashing to be this effective when I started this challenge. Now, to get to the next area of the game, I would need a biological key from Gil, and to get that, I would have to distract him by throwing some adamant-infused flowers into his tank. This gave me the chance to explore the rest of the level, as well as deal with the other Big Daddies. I'm sure all of the gatherings I had to do would have been much more difficult if there wasn't always a vending machine or health station right next to them, but that's just the way this game is. Collecting these adamant-infused plants usually resulted in a fight with splicers and more Alpha Series Big Daddies. Not much to say except that I mopped the floor with them. I had to fight the last Big Daddy of the level and do the required gatherings. I was surprised here, as this was the last little sister I had to deal with in the game. There were still like 2 more levels to do at least, but it is what it is, I guess. After this, I had to fight another big sister, and I got the drill vampire tonic from researching. It sadly only works with the drill, or this run would have just got a whole lot easier. With all of the adamant-infused plants collected, I could deal with Gil. Of course, that was after he sent a crap ton of splicers to deal with me. If you guessed that there were also a bunch of Alpha Series Big Daddies here, you would be correct. With all of the gene tonics I had going for me, whenever I got attacked, they would usually retaliate with a shock, a fire, or a freeze. Of course, these did very little damage compared to the actual plasmids of those types, but they helped. Once everyone was dead, I put the flowers into the tank and took the sample I needed for the key. I opted not to kill Gil, even though that seems like a dick move not to kill a guy who didn't want to end up this way, but oh well, not my problem. Now I could go back into the drink and take the secret lift to Persephone, the area where Sophia Lamb was keeping Eleanor. Sophia Lamb almost immediately sets a few big sisters on us, which is a lot harder than fighting one of them at a time, but the vending machine reigns supreme in this challenge. I won't lie, Sophia Lamb is kind of an asshole, and I think it's pretty stupid that she doesn't die even if you end up getting the good ending. She literally tried killing her child to kill me since we're bonded, and if Eleanor dies, I die. What a dick. Of course, game logic dictates that she was only trying to stop her daughter's heart long enough to kill me, so everyone wins, I guess? I don't even know anymore. I love this game, but the story fucking blows. I'm strapped down to a table now and can't do anything, so Eleanor sends a little sister with a special plasmid that lets me control the little sister. This part's actually pretty nifty. You get to see how Rapture looks to the little sisters, and it's pretty messed up in the grand scheme of things. Riding off the back of what the first BioShock did by making you become a Big Daddy, in BioShock 2 you have to help gather parts of a big sister suit so Eleanor can become a big sister. There are no dangers while I'm playing as the little sister, so I'll just skip ahead to when I have the full suit ready for Eleanor. This is where how you played the game so far takes its course. If you've rescued all of the little sisters and didn't kill any of the people that you had a choice to, Eleanor will save the little sister and free me from my shackles. The other options are a bit more dark, so let's not worry about those. I get the Summon Eleanor plasmid here, and I never used it once since there was never a need to. The game also decides to bring brute splicers back, which was nice since they were the last splicer I needed to fully research. This was a short area, and we were already on our way to Inner Persephone, the last level of the game. The idea was for us to escape with Sinclair in his submersible, but Sinclair was nowhere to be found. As it turns out, Sophia Lamb turned him into an Alpha Series Big Daddy, cause she's a cockhole. I also get the last research bonus here, and it's Armored Shell 2, which will help for the many Alpha Series Big Daddies and Brute Splicers I have to fight throughout the level. We get to see Sinclair in all of his diving suit glory here, and he has the key for the submersible. He's also being controlled by Sophia Lamb, which means he can't just give it to us. So now I have to go on a wild goose chase to collect the code I need to open the door to where Sinclair is. Jesus Christ, can't anything be straightforward in this game? The code was really easy to get. The hard part was killing Sinclair, who helped me get through all of the previous areas. It's also just a crappy way to go at the end of the day. Now that I had the key, we could escape. Just kidding. Sophia Lamb flooded the submersible area with water, so it wouldn't be buoyant enough to carry Eleanor, myself, and all of the remaining little sisters to safety. That's right, we're rescuing the kids. Of course, it also helps that together with Eleanor they can boil the water away so we can escape. So now I have to help Eleanor go and collect them all. The first area, the pediatric wing, was pretty easy. The Splicers and Alpha Series were just no match for my awesome power, and the little sisters were saved easily. The next area was a bit different. There were some Houdini Splicers here, and they like to stand just out of reach from me. They do eventually teleport somewhere where I can hit them, but one of them just kinda disappeared, and for the life of me, I couldn't find them. I looked everywhere, and almost decided to load my last save, but luckily enough, I found them hiding here, and now it was time for the final battle. The finale of this game is eh. Unlike fighting a huge Adam-enraged Frank Fontaine in the first BioShock, the developers assumed that letting you bump off a defenseless woman wouldn't be the same, so they just send an infinite wave of splicers to deal with you, while Eleanor and the little sisters boil the water from the submersible bay. Not much of a test of skills compared, and not very hard either. Eventually I'm told to break the pipes above us to flood the room, and I was really worried I wouldn't be able to jump and hit them, but I had just enough height to give the pipes a good thwacking. And just like that, I beat BioShock 2 by only gun bashing. Man, I hate to say it, but I expected this to be a lot worse. What started off as a hard run got way too easy towards the middle, and I didn't have the heart to change it back to hard because I knew that it would end up being just like the first Big Daddy fight. That being said, I am surprised that the gun bash is as good as it was. It was probably akin to using the unupgraded drill, maybe even better. I think this will be my last BioShock challenge for a few weeks. I need a bit of a break. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And as always, stay safe out there, and peace out.